In this video, we'll be going over how to maneuver the camera around manually in Cosmographia to set up the initial view when creating scenes with Python scripting. In the GitHub repository, we've added a new scene under Scenes, Cosmographia Tutorials 4, MRO Orbit, which we'll be using to create a quick scene showing the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter at Mars today, 21st of September 2021. We'll quickly go over the 5 scripts we'll need for this scene, where most of them are almost exactly the same as in the last video. So here, the only changes to the bash script is to input the correct directories for this scene, CT004, set camera view, MRO orbits. The load catalog is exactly the same except for the name, which doesn't change the functionality. It only changes Cosmographia's output to the terminal when it states that it is loading the catalogs. In this scene, we'll need 2 spice kernels. The first is a Mars spice kernel that contains data for Mars itself, not the Mars System Berry Center, and its moons Phobos and Deimos. And the second is a spice kernel that contains MRO trajectory data. And both of these kernels were trimmed down to just 10 hours to keep their file sizes small for the GitHub repository. The spacecraft catalog, again, is almost the same, except with a new date and a new name. Mars is the center of the trajectory. The MRO Spice ID is -74, and we change the colors here to mostly red. Finally, we get to the Python script. Here we have the new bodies we want in this scene, set the time to today, show the trajectories, and set Mars as a central object. And here we've excluded the set camera position and orientation commands because we'll be walking through how to do that in this video. In the next part of this video, we'll be showing how to maneuver the camera around in Cosmographia manually, and then how to set camera position and orientation commands using the provided URL parser. So now we're ready to run the scene. So we can say scenes, Cosmographia Tutorials 4, run MRO orbits. And we'll drag it over here. So it's going to start out with its default view of the solar system, but we can go over to Mars by just left double clicking over there. It actually clicked on the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, which set it as the center. So now we're going to have to set Mars at the center again. So we go right click, set as center. And then we want to figure out what kind of view and position we want for the camera for this scene. So say that for this scene, we want to see the entire orbit of the MRO without being covered up by Mars, and we want to be on the sunlit side of Mars. So we can see where the sun is as coming from the right over there. So we can rotate around here, so we're going to be able to see the full orbit. We can move the camera a little bit to get Deimos in here, and maybe move up inclination, rotate a little bit. So say that this is the initial orientation that we want for this scene. Now we can zoom out. We can go to up here to File, copy state URL to clipboard, then bring up another terminal over here. So we see we're at the base of the repository. We can say Python 3 src and parse Cosmo URL.py, and then double quote, paste, double quote, and now we have these set camera and position and orientation commands. So we can go ahead and copy that here, paste it into there, save that, and then we can exit out of Cosmographia. We'll move this back over and rerun the scene. So scene's right there, and it should come up with starting at that view, just like that. All of those instructions are in the README of this repository in case you ever need a quick reminder, and we'll be going over more examples of how to do that in subsequent videos. Also, to make the URL parsing process more convenient, you can add this function to your bash profile or .bashrc so that you don't have to worry about the relative path of where the Python parser script is. So you can simply use Parse Cosmo URL as a command in the terminal and then paste the URL. So as an example, you can say Parse Cosmo and then it'll tab autocomplete, open quote, paste open quote, and get the command there. And as an example, to see where it is in the bash RC, you just define the Cosmo demos there, and then after that, you can put in that function. So let us know if you have any questions or comments about this video, and in the next one, we'll be walking through how to create an Earth orbit scene like this from scratch.